With me today is Jeremiah from the Alliance Defending Freedom, who was legal counsel for Adam and Isabel, who have recently been penalised for praying silently outside abortion centres, and also Adam, who was fined for his silent prayer. And we're going to hear from them today about this situation. Jeremiah, I know there's been quite a lot of confusion now about what the situation is and what our rights and sort of legal standing is. Could you just summarise for us the situation for praying silently near or outside abortion centres?
Sure, yes. I think the key word in your question really is confusion. It's one thing for the public to be confused, but it's quite another thing for law enforcement, police officers, counsel to be confused about the law. And we've seen that borne out in Isabel's case, in Adam's case, in Father Sean's case, where, for example, Isabel was arrested, charged, imprisoned temporarily, then taken to court, prosecuted. The evidence was, the prosecution offered no evidence. The court acquitted her fully. Then within a couple of weeks, she was again rearrested for silent prayer. It took 6 months for them to finally decide that that was not prosecutable again. And then we've heard, as of yesterday, that again she's been warned for silent prayer. So there is considerable confusion. And with Adam's case as well, we saw that just a week before the council issued a fine, he was told by police officers that silent prayer is not prosecutable in England. And now he's been charged for silent prayer. So this considerable confusion, I think, is as a result of the bans that purport to ban silent prayer, purport to ban prayer. And we know that the law, the Human Rights Act, domestic and international law, Human Rights Act, European Convention of Human Rights, protects freedom of thought. In other words, prayer, silent prayer offered towards God, protects that, absolutely. And so it's an absolute right in law. But councils and police officers don't seem yet to understand that. So there is, in some senses, clarity in law, but these local authorities have introduced bans on prayer, which has introduced that kind of element of lack of clarity.
Thank you for providing clarity with that. It's reassuring to know that our thoughts aren't yet being completely criminalised. So thank you for that. And Jeremiah has been supporting Adam. Adam, you were fined for praying outside of an abortion centre. I know that you fought for your country. You were in the military. How do you feel about this whole situation?
Very sad. I'm very sad that in the nation of the Magna Carta, where 800 years ago the barons restricted the power of the state, the nation that defeated Nazism, the nation that's upheld freedom and democracy, spread democracy, parliamentary democracy around the world. We're standing outside of Parliament right now. That in this nation, I believe it's 299 members of that Parliament right behind us voted to make it illegal to hold a consensual conversation or to pray silently. Well, at least they didn't vote to make it illegal, but they didn't vote to uphold that right, just to clarify. And it's an outrage against England, quite frankly. This isn't really so much an abortion issue as a freedom issue now. You may be pro-choice and support what is happening here and be against what's happening. All you have to be is passionate about freedom. You know, I've got friends, a good friend of mine, he had twins, a wife. He died, okay, he's now in the ground in Afghanistan. He was killed by a roadside bomb because he was passionate about defending freedom, okay? I'm also an Afghanistan veteran, but I'm not the hero. The heroes are in the ground now, okay? His memory deserves, that this nation deserves better people running the nation, quite frankly. Right now, there's a real crisis in our leadership. The fact that 299 members of Parliament couldn't even uphold the right for consensual conversations is an absolute outrage. It's embarrassing for our nation. We're an embarrassment across the globe right now because of this case. This should never happen. If you can create thought crime somewhere, then you can create thought crime anywhere. And you may be a pro-choice person, but just wait. There'll be some other issue that you're passionate about that a powerful lobby group may be opposed to, because that's essentially what's happened here. A multi-billion-pound industry lobbies MPs in there and have managed to basically pull the wool over people's eyes, and we've ended up in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for continuing to stand up for life despite all of that persecution. And Jeremiah, could you speak into a bit about what you think is motivating these police officers and councils to act in this draconian way?
Sure. Well, what we've seen over the last few years is police officers being handed more and more powers to restrict freedom of speech. So we've seen that in the Police Crime, Policing, Sentencing and Courts Act, where police officers were handed the powers to essentially impose any conditions on speech considered to be inconveniencing. And then with the Public Order Act handed down this year, we've seen a ban on influencing. And so with this kind of trend towards free speech restricting laws, we've seen police officers essentially be given a free hand to impose their values and their ideology and bring that to bear on their policing, and where they're upholding not the law, but enforcing ideology. And that's seriously problematic. So I think what's motivated this kind of chilling thought crime investigations that we've seen in the last year is essentially a sense of police officers feeling that they can restrict speech with impunity and feeling so emboldened that they can now restrict thought.
Thank you. And Adam, could you tell me a little bit more about what's motivated you to do this? It's not easy to pray silently outside of an abortion centre. You've shown that in the way that you've been persecuted. So what motivates you to continue?
My son, Jacob. So I lost a son to abortion 23 years ago now. At the time I was an atheist, and I thought abortion was nothing more problematic than a tooth extraction. The whole society around me had told me that. I became a Christian in 2017, April 2017, and I came to understand that I'd been lied to about what's really going on in an abortion, and I came to deeply regret that. I'm also motivated, as I've already mentioned, I'm a veteran. I've got friends who lost their lives defending the principle of freedom, and it's just simply unacceptable that in our nation right now we have areas of thought crime that could cover up to 26 kilometres square of this nation, and that's simply wrong. That's simply wrong, and we need our leaders, our members of parliament, to wake up to what's happening and defend our rights and freedoms. They are in that building behind us. They have a duty to defend our rights and freedoms, and right now, not only are they not defending it, but they are actively suppressing our rights and freedoms.
Thank you. And finally, Jeremiah, could you just tell me a little bit more about your primary concerns at the moment for being pro-life in this country?
Sure. Well, I think right now we know that every hour over 60 children are aborted in this country, and the fact is we're not able to freely speak about that issue. That is the greatest moral issue that this country faces. And being able, to answer your question, my primary concern is that we're not discussing the issue itself, but we're debating whether or not we're allowed to debate the issue. And so having the discourse changed from being allowed to at least express pro-life views is one of my primary concerns. My second primary concern is no purported medical institution should be beyond scrutiny. And what we've seen is a rise of this tactic where you label to disable, you label pro-life views as inherently harmful and criminal so as to disable the ability to hold these institutions to account. And I think, they say, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I think no institution should have the absolute power to criminalize speech and even thoughts. And we're seeing that increasingly with policing. So it's this idea of accountability, an idea of being able to at the very least, have a free and frank conversation as to the realities of abortion. And so that's my current concern.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, of course.
So the police officer, as Jeremiah's already said to me when I was praying silently, came up and said to me, "This is England, you can do that," which seems to me entirely appropriate response when somebody is practicing their faith. And then a week later, council officers came up to me and said, "What is the nature of your prayer?" Now that should send a spine-tingling chill down the spines of every MP in that building behind us. No officer of the state should ever be asking a law-abiding citizen, what is the nature of your prayer? That is thought crime. This is England 2023. If this is allowed to pass, this will be George Orwell's 1984 before we know it. And if you care about freedom, whether you're pro-life or not, you have to wake up to what's going on in this nation. This is just the beginning. This cannot be allowed to stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you both of you for continuing to stand up for the unborn. Adam has been persecuted for standing outside, silently praying outside an abortion centre. And Jeremiah is his legal counsel for Adam and Father Sean and Isabel, who we spoke to earlier, from the Alliance Defending Freedom, ADF UK. Thank you both for joining me. We're here witnessing to more than 10 million lives which have been ended through abortion. Stay with me as I continue to interview more people throughout the day and we witness to this horrible act.